Pierpont Morgan began collecting in 1890. He amassed this extraordinary collection of books and manuscripts of all sorts, of paintings, of decorative objects. He was certainly the greatest collector in America at the end of the 19th century, and I think he would still rank as one of the 2 or 3 greatest collectors in the history of this country. Pierpont Morgan created a library for scholars. Later, his son, Jack Morgan, decided that the institution ought to be changed from a private institution to a public institution. He built the building that we refer to as the Annex. 60 years later, we had an opportunity to buy a brownstone that was on the corner of 37th Street and Madison Avenue. Jack Morgan lived here with his wife and family, and the trustees of the board were wise enough to realize that this was an extraordinary opportunity to buy back a piece of its past. The Morgan Library and Museum undertook the largest project of its kind since Pierpont Morgan built the original library, almost entirely for programmatic reasons. We had simply run out of space to do all the things that we had traditionally been committed to doing.
We really were short in terms of vault space, gallery space. We had an old reading room, and we thought that this was a good time to take some dramatic steps. And we were determined that we would do it in a way that still kept the strength of the old Morgan.
There were a great many people who have known the Morgan Library over the years and have loved it for the domestic quality, the beauty, the elegance, the intimacy, and the scale. And it was very, very important that the level of detail and the elegance of the past could be realized in these modern materials.
I think it still makes sense because it's a great material for construction. It belongs to our time. It belongs to the story of Mr. Morgan in some way. You know, it belongs to the entire history of our century. Still is expressing duration and strength. In some way, the building we are making are a bit like safe. It still is strong, but is also very, very light. So transparency as well as permeability are actually very important sensation. When you walk in the street or you drive by and you feel that there is no strong selfish barrier between the street and the building. So you feel like in a participatory process with the building.
What I can certainly say is that I think he went to great lengths to understand our vision. First and foremost, he conceived of the collections as the great treasure of the library. And he felt that that treasure ought to be placed in the bedrock of New York. And he saw that vault and those treasures as at the heart of the institution.
The vault houses the literary and historical manuscripts, printed books and bindings, the Near Eastern cylinder seals and tablets. The bulk of the collection is stored in cylinder boxes, for which we now have these wonderful compact shelves, which are actually very easy to move. We have more than 350 frame drawings, and now we have two possible ways of storing them. One way is in these drawers, which keeps them away from light, but also protects the decorative frames from potential damage. For our late 19th century and 20th century, and we hope 21st century works, we now have these screens, which we've never had before, which allow us to store large framed drawings.
The greatest challenge was how best to integrate the old buildings with the new buildings. We really view them as part of our collection, and we wanted to do everything to not only to preserve them, but to respect them. This is one of my favorite spots on the entire site, because one sees here this extraordinary intersection, but you also see how respectful the new is of the old.
Unlike a museum that might have 50 or 100 or 200 fantastic pictures to show, the Morgan has got thousands and thousands of pages and of illuminated manuscripts and many drawings, and so we wanted to put more of what we had out for the public to see.
I am now in the old reading room, the reading room that Jack Morgan created in 1928. We made the decision to convert this space into an exhibition gallery. These 3 rooms on the ground floor of the annex are a kind of suite of galleries. One of our highest priorities was to create an absolutely first-rate new concert hall. It comes as almost a total surprise when one opens the door and sees this truly beautiful space. And I think the real triumph of the space is that within a very narrow area, he's been able to give us a hall that is as good as this one is from an acoustical point of view, and is also as beautiful as this is. This is really the heart of the piano complex, and with this platform here, where the new gallery is, then these 2 clearly new office buildings, and then this glorious glass wall with this fantastically transparent glass looking east.
The Morgan is going to be bigger, more accessible, at the same time showing much more of its collection. So it'll be a more lively, open place for the public, a more interesting place to come to than it was before.